U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff proposes temporary Gaza ceasefire deal. Israel issues new evacuation orders for Gaza's residents and advanced technology. The news in full with Mihail Al-Hamalawi. Axios has reported that U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff announced a temporary ceasefire proposal in Gaza, which Israel has previously reportedly accepted. Witkoff indicated that negotiations are underway with a deal on the table that Hamas must accept. He stated that a ceasefire would lead to meaningful negotiations for a lasting truce, but expressed disappointment with Hamas's response to the proposal. That comes as an Israeli official rejected Hamas's latest ceasefire proposal, asserting that it was unacceptable.
At large for conflict and so forth, I think they had a
Palestinian official close to Hamas has informed Reuters that the movement has accepted U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff's proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza. The proposal includes the release of 10 live Israeli detainees held by Hamas in exchange for a 70-day truce, a gradual partial withdrawal from Gaza, and the release of several Palestinian detainees, including those with long sentences. Indirect negotiations for a long-term ceasefire will begin, along with establishing an independent community support committee to manage Gaza. And according to Axios, Witkoff has stated that Hamas has so far failed to accept his proposal for a new ceasefire deal and a detainee exchange agreement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that his government will maintain full sovereignty over Jerusalem. During a cabinet meeting in Silwan in East Jerusalem, Netanyahu proclaimed Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital, asserting that it will never be divided again after the Six-Day War. He announced plans to encourage recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital and the relocation of embassies there, warning of severe consequences if Jerusalem is abandoned. The Israeli occupation military has ordered residents in Khan Yunis, Bani Suhaila, Abasan and Al-Qarara to evacuate, expanding forced displacement in southern Gaza. Israeli army spokesperson for Arab media, Avichai Adrai, announced an unprecedented attack targeting armed groups and directed civilians to move to the coastal Al-Mawasi area. Humanitarian groups have warned that Al-Mawasi, repeatedly hit by Israeli strikes, is not a safe zone, stressing that nowhere in Gaza offers real safety. The King of Jordan has discussed with the Norwegian Foreign Minister the unilateral actions against Palestinians in the West Bank and occupied Jerusalem. He emphasized the need to intensify efforts to hold in Gaza and resume humanitarian aid deliveries. Additionally, Jordan's king highlighted the importance of achieving a just and comprehensive peace through a two-state solution. The Israeli National Security Minister's storming of Al-Aqsa Mosque compound has sparked widespread condemnation and heightened tensions.
Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in East Jerusalem, escorted by police and far-right supporters. The move was Catholic and Muslims who saw it as a blatant violation of the site's religious sanctity and the historical status quo. The timing of the visit, amid escalating violence in Gaza, further inflamed regional tensions. This is not a controversy to the holy site. He previously entered the compound in January and July 2023 and April 2025, each time drawing international condemnation. Countries and international organizations, including the UN and EU, have repeatedly warned that such actions threaten the fragile status quo and could provoke wider unrest. Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site in Islam and is located within a compound that Jews also revere as the Temple Mount. By long-standing agreement, non-Muslims can visit but are not permitted to pray there. Ben Gvir's visit, which often included rhetoric about asserting Israeli control, are seen as attempts to change that arrangement. Respecting religious sites like Al-Aqsa is essential for regional peace and stability. Undermining their sanctity risks igniting further conflict and deepening divisions.
And for more analysis, we now move to Riham Morsi in our newsroom. To you, Riham.
Thank you, Heda. To help us analyse the current situation, we're joined by Dr. Munir Nusayba, the international law professor at Al-Quds University, joining us from the occupied Jerusalem. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Qnews. Sir, firstly, let's start off by asking, does the acceptance of the ceasefire proposal by Hamas alter the dynamics of the ongoing negotiations?
Well, the problem is that I'm not sure what is the proposal. We have been stuck at a very specific point for a very long time. On the one hand, Israel would like to proceed with an exchange of prisoners without any guarantees that the war will end. This is the point that we stopped at. They always want a temporary exchange of prisoners, while at the same time negotiations continue for an unknown situation. But at the same time, the Israeli officials, as well as Donald Trump himself, continue expressing that Israel intends to control the Gaza Strip, that the United States wants to transform the Gaza Strip into a tourist attraction with no Palestinians, into a Riviera, and that the Palestinians who are in the Gaza Strip must be displaced. On the other hand, Hamas has always expressed that they insist that any negotiations must eventually lead to the end of the war and the end of the Israeli occupation presence in the Gaza Strip. Of course, in addition to allowing food and water and electricity and other necessary needs for the Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip to enter. This access is vital for the survival of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. So this is the gap. And the question is, has Witkoff and the Trump administration more generally managed to bridge this gap? Have they been able to promise the end of this war, the permanent or long-term ceasefire, or are they only also going along with the Israeli way, which only targets an exchange of prisoners without eventually ending the war, and with the Israeli continued control over the Gaza Strip and the displacement of the population? I don't have the answer, and I'm looking forward to understand further what this agreement is about.
Well, so this kind of plays into the next idea, where the Netanyahu government declared on occasions that they are not open to the two-state solution, and even declared Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital. Possibility of peace in general.
Well, today we have seen how the Israeli police, but also the extreme right-wing settlers in Jerusalem have entered the old of Jerusalem, have attacked civilians, by different types of violence in the old city of Jerusalem. They have stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque, contrary to the status quo that is recognized internationally around Al-Aqsa Mosque. And Itamar Ben-Gvir has even led a large group of right-wing Israelis into Al-Aqsa Mosque in order to perform prayers against the status quo of Al-Aqsa Mosque as a Muslim place of worship. This is a step by the Israeli government that continues to show that the Israeli government is not really interested in any serious negotiations, is only interested and working on the continuation of its occupation and annexation, illegal annexation of Jerusalem. And this is what they are not shy to tell. They insist on, showing not only claiming sovereignty, but also showing strength and power and extremism against the Palestinian population in Jerusalem, while at the same time continue talking about annexing further territory in the West Bank in addition to Jerusalem. There is no sign that Israel, whether this government actually or many former governments as well, are interested in any way in any peaceful resolution of the occupation, despite the fact that the International Court of Justice has clarified that the continuing Israeli occupation in the occupied Palestinian territory is and has to end as soon as possible.
Okay, now go back to Gaza. There have been orders in southern Gaza for evacuation. How does this reflect the broader military strategies, given that now the Israeli army has occupied 77% of the Gaza Strip, and how does this play into as well the humanitarian concerns?
Well, Israel has managed to gain military control over the Gaza Strip for a long period of time. But what is special about this military control over the Gaza Strip is that it is genocide. Is not only aiming at controlling the Gaza Strip, but it's also aiming at evacuating the Gaza Strip from its population. They have destroyed the Gaza Strip in a way that the world hasn't seen actually in the last agencies, facilities, and infrastructure. They have cut off electricity from the city. They have actually the level of destruction as well as targeting of civilians has been tremendous. So the Israeli government's actual aim is not only to control the Gaza Strip, but as they stated and as they keep telling us, it's not like they are hiding this. They are actually quite open about it. They want to evacuate the Gaza Strip from its population. They keep saying and that they are looking for a place for the Palestinians to go to in this world. The Netanyahu government said it, Trump has said it before. So it is a genocidal war against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. And what they are aiming actually destroying the Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip in a way that they can never reclaim their lives in the Gaza Strip again. That's why they don't want a ceasefire.
Okay, that you made your point clear there. That was Dr. Munir Nusseibeh from the occupied Jerusalem, the international law professor from Al-Quds University. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Qnews. And now we go back to Haider Hamadawi in our studio.
Thank you very much, Riham. Resuming our bulletin, Gaza's Interior Ministry has condemned the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, as a tool to use food as a weapon, accusing the United States and Israel of bypassing international aid agencies to create chaos and manipulate civilians. In a statement, the ministry said that the foundation's control over aid distribution aims at engineering starvation, support displacement plans, and blackmailing citizens for security purposes. The ministry also warned that GHF's limited militarized distribution points would force Palestinians to travel long distances, furthering Israeli efforts to alter Gaza's demographics. The criticism comes as GHF's director reportedly resigned, citing a lack of operational independence. The World Health Organization has warned that Gaza is facing a severe medical supply crisis, with nearly two-thirds of medical equipment and 52% of essential medicines, including painkillers, completely depleted. WHO Regional Director for the Eastern Mediterranean, Dr. Hanan Balkhi, said during a press briefing in Geneva that they are at stock zero now. She previously described the health system in the enclave as barely functional and in a state of crisis. A new UN assessment has revealed that just 4.6% of Gaza's cropland is currently cultivable due to extensive damage and access restrictions. The joint analysis by UNOSAT and the FAO found that over 80% of farmland has been damaged and nearly 78% is inaccessible, severely impacting food production. The FAO called the destruction alarming, warning that it threatens to collapse Gaza's agri-food system and worsen famine risk. Greenhouses and agricultural wells have also been heavily damaged, with over 70% of each affected. According to a letter reported by The Guardian, a group of EU officials has criticized the European Union for taking little or no meaningful action over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The letter, titled EU Staff for Peace, accuses the 27-member bloc of contributing to a culture of impunity that enabled Israel's ongoing invasion of Gaza. It followed by EU last year, warning that inaction would betray the founding values of the European project. The criticism comes just days after EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas announced a review of the bloc's trade agreement with Israel. Moving on to Saudi Arabia, where the Minister of Information, Abdullah Sawaha, has highlighted key preparations for this year's Hajj season, focusing on safety, organization, and advanced technology. Over 1.07 million pilgrims have arrived so far, including around 250,000 through the Mecca Road Initiative. The kingdom has prepared 177 accommodation halls and set up an operations room to support pilgrims. Efforts to enhance the experience include the use of artificial intelligence and modern digital infrastructure. Additionally, daily water quality tests are being conducted, and 25,000 volunteers have been deployed to assist pilgrims. And in Lebanon, Prime Minister Nawaf Salam has informed a U.S. delegation of the country's commitment to asserting sovereignty over all its territory, including addressing the issue of Palestinian arms in refugee camps. Salam underscored the importance of supporting the Lebanese army to strengthen its authority both at the borders and domestically. Additionally, he urged increased American pressure on Israel to withdraw from Lebanese territories. Moving on to Tehran, where Iran has reaffirmed uranium enrichment as a bold red line following the latest round of talks in Rome with U.S. delegates. Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baqai emphasized no leniency will be shown on this issue and urged the IAEA to resist political pressure in its dealings with Iran. The negotiations aim to resolve the long-standing dispute over Iran's nuclear program amid threats from the United States of sanctions and possible military action if no deal is reached. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian expressed confidence that Iran could survive without a deal if the talks fail, while U.S. President Donald Trump described recent discussions as very good. The Kremlin has said that Russia launched its largest missile and drone attack of the war on Ukraine overnight, targeting military sites in response to Ukrainian strikes on Russian civilian areas. Ukraine reported at least 367 drones and missiles fired, killing 12 people, including 3 children in the northern Zhytomyr region. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated that President Putin is taking necessary actions to ensure Russia's security. German Foreign Minister Johann Vadeful has said that Ukraine is ready for peace negotiations, but Russia's ongoing attacks show a lack of willingness Russia to engage in talks. He also said that this is a clear European message of encouragement to Kiev and warning to Moscow.
Yes, of course.
The Kremlin has dismissed U.S. President Donald Trump's characterization of Vladimir Putin as being mentally unstable, attributing the comment to heightened emotions surrounding the Ukraine conflict. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that the current situation is emotionally charged for all parties and likely influencing public sentiment. Despite Trump's criticism following Russia's largest aerial attack on Ukraine since the war began, Moscow expressed appreciation for his role in facilitating the start of peace negotiations. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has rejected allegations of Russian involvement in recent arson attacks targeting properties linked to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that the accusations from London are typically unfounded, calling them false, unsubstantiated and often ridiculous. He added that the UK has a habit of blaming Russia for any negative incidents within its borders. The comments come after British authorities launched investigations into a series of arson attacks on homes and associated Prime Minister. Moving on to the United States, where President Donald Trump has said that his administration aims to reduce the number of foreign students at Harvard University and has requested the school to provide names. Trump criticized the university's international enrollment, claiming no foreign government contributes to Harvard's funding and suggesting U.S. government grants to the school may be and federal law. A federal judge has since temporarily blocked the order pending further legal review.
To be honest, I'm not looking to make socks. We could do that very well at other locations. We are looking to do chips.
And that brings us to the end of our news bulletin, and here is what we have been covering. U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff proposes temporary Gaza ceasefire. Israel issues new evacuation orders for southern Gaza's residents. Saudi Arabia prepares for Hajj with safety measures and advanced technology. Well, this concludes our news bulletin for this hour. Don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at QNewsEG to stay informed. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Thank you very much for watching and stay tuned for more updates here on Q News.